the people of sake actually brought me into sake.
Back in 1988, this place was actually in Ginza on the main drag.
At first it was kind of soy sauce, it was miso.
To the point where it actually changed my life.
New Year's Day 1989.
Not just sake as a beverage, but all the culture and history.
Welcome back to Sake on Air. My name is Miho. Back in February, JSS invited 3 photographers to exhibit their photographs taken at sake breweries and a shochu distillery with a theme of light in and around sake breweries. The 3 photographers are Anat and Anna, and our own Cindy Bisig. So I went to the Japan Sake and Shochu Information Center where the exhibition was held and talked to 2 of them to find out what got them into the art and also what fascinated them about sake breweries. Unfortunately, Cindy could not join us because her Shinkansen from Kyoto got delayed due to snow. It is a real pity that we couldn't talk to her, but nonetheless, the stories Anat and Anna shared with me were nothing short of inspiring, and I'm very happy that we can share them with you. I also went around interviewing a few people who attended the exhibition, and we'll share those with you towards the end. So let's start with the photographers. So I'm at JSS sitting with Anat and Anna, the photographers exhibiting their works at the Information Center. I'm really excited to hear what goes behind all the beautiful works, and thank you guys for joining me today. So here I have Anat and Anna. Would you like to introduce yourself briefly to our audience? Starting with...
Hi, hello everyone. My name is Anat. I've been living in Japan since 2006. However, my first visit to Japan was exactly 30 years ago in 1995. I came here in 2006 after receiving the Monkasho scholarship to continue my photography studies. I graduated from Nichigei, Nihon University College of Art. I did my master degree there and my PhD. My thesis was about gender and photography in Japan. During all those years that I've been living in Japan and visiting in Japan, I've been always taking photos. My first visit to a brewery, to a sake brewery, was in 2010. I was taken by 2 Japanese friends of mine that knew that I love Nihonshu, and they just decided that we all do a trip. The minute I entered the brewery, I was just fascinated because as a photographer, and for me, what guides me in photography is light. I saw so many such a potential in that brewery. So that was the beginning of this kind of like long photography journey that I'm still doing.
So you mentioned the light in this brewery was what inspired you in the beginning. What was special about this light?
Yeah, so I think first thing for me as a photographer was always light, natural light. I don't use flash when I take photos. I don't use a tripod, for example. I don't use also many equipment and lenses because I think my photography is more intuitive rather than stage or. And there's something about the light in the brewery that caught my eye or my attention the first place because of course it depends on the brewery. Right now that I have I've been shooting in many different breweries, I know already what type of breweries would have inspired me, right? So the light, I mean, in some breweries is very natural. Of course it depends on the day you enter, but also the equipment there and the especially if a brewery is mostly made of wood, for example, so the combination of wood and natural light, these are things that would attract me as a photographer. But of course, that is not the only thing about taking photos inside the breweries. But I will just, for now, sum it up that for me, entering a brewery, it's like entering a magical place, like a magician place.
So I'll pass the mic to Anna.
Hello, my name is Anna. I'm a graphic designer and photographer working here in Tokyo. I'm originally from the United States, but I'm also half Japanese, so I have a little bit of background, which is part of the reason that I was drawn to Japan. Let's see. I started my graphic design career in Sapporo, where I worked at a small branding studio for about 2.5 years. After that, I moved to Tokyo, where I worked at Tokyo Weekender, which is Japan's longest running English language lifestyle magazine. So there I was doing both layout, graphic design, I did the web design, as well as photography. And one of my favorite parts about that job is I got to travel quite a lot, got to see a lot of very deep parts of Japan, places that specifically the local people there want to share with the world. So that was very special. Part of the inspiration for taking sake breweries were those trips where I get to really learn what goes on in a sake brewery, how these brewers choose their ingredients, which, like, every brewery has their own specific style, what they're focusing on. Some breweries focus more on where the rice is coming from, some breweries focus more on the koji mold, and it's really interesting, although it's such a traditional process, even within that framework you can see a lot of variation. I've always been very interested and inspired by people who spend their life on a craft, especially with food, because food is something that brings so much enjoyment and nourishes us both physically, but also socially, culturally. So it's really a pleasure and a honor to be able to photograph these breweries and be able to show them at JSS.
So the show is opening today, and I am yet to see the final display of your works. They're still somewhat preparing at this moment. But can you briefly tell us a little bit about your work, how you chose the brewery or distillery that you photographed, why you picked specific subjects, etc. I will start with Anat.
Okay, so we were asked to choose 3 frames, which, I mean, 5 or maybe more, but 3 big frames and large frames, I mean, and then 5 small, and then like some. We're gonna have like a digital presentation, a motion presentation. At any rate, in my case, I didn't go by the brewery, but the atmosphere of the what I wanted to convey through my photo, especially with the title. Like what was the title was light in and around sake breweries. So as I said, I was really happy when I saw that that was the title that was chosen, because for me, photography is first and foremost is about light. And but I've decided to submit like black and white photography, as if it's like a film noir inside a brewery, because it's such I think photography is a very photogenic place, not only for still photography, but also for motion photography and video art. So aside of my still photography, I've been doing also video arts inside the breweries. So yeah, that was what today's exhibition. I chose like black and white, and those photos that I thought that maybe can convey also what I was just mentioning, um, when I said like about the magical atmosphere that you have there. So I hope that those who are coming to enjoy our works would get this sensation from the photos that I submitted. Because I think for me also, taking photos of sake breweries is also an ambition that I have, to show the people who enjoy the drink, who are what the effort and who are the people behind this beverage. and the hard work and the environment, which is part of the sake itself. Like when you taste it, you taste everything. You taste the atmosphere, the people hardworking, the people who really, live in the brewery for 3 months, especially exactly what Anna just said about the craftsmanship of sake. So this is another thing that I think we all want to maybe deliver through our photography works.
Yeah, no, that's great. I was just thinking, we take it for granted that, seeing sake breweries for us is not that difficult, being in sort of like working around sake and doing, but it's still not the most accessible place for most people. So I think, yeah, displaying what's happening, what kind of place it is to these people who can't really get there is really, really amazing. Can you tell us about your work, Anna?
I also chose my photographs based on the content. I think my photography tends to lean not story oriented, but very much compositional. So I have a background in graphic design. So a lot of people comment, like, oh, you take photos of things that normally people wouldn't really take a photo of. I tend to take photos of like cones or just lines, benches. I'm very space and object oriented, I would say. But what really captures my interest is the impact that people leave on a space. So with the sake brewing process, of course the brewers are really integral, but it's also, for me, it's really interesting to see the imprint of the choices that they make. So how they organize their stock room, how they put certain tools away. Even though my photos tend to be devoid within the frame of a human element, for me, the objects are a result of the choices that people make. And yes, and just because of my graphic design background, I think I am also particularly interested in lines and shapes, which I think draws me more into objects. And Anna also mentioned like environments and spaces. So I find beauty both in like the super beautiful traditional wooden buildings that have lasted for a really long time, but also the more modern, maybe even more industrial scale places have kind of their charm with like the concrete and steel. It's someone's workplace. They're showing up every day, and you have to love what you're doing, I think, to spend your life brewing sake. It's very involved in terms of a profession. So to see the space where people are spending so much of their life, I think that really drove how I selected my photos for this.
That's amazing. And I guess sake brewers don't get photographed very often, I guess. So what are your experiences working with them? Are they usually shy, or are they happy to share what they do? What's your experience been?
Yeah, so you can feel that they're not used to being to share their space with others who are not involved in the sake making, for sure. But I think, as we just said, that each brewery, as Anna just said, that each brewery has its own, I would say, like character and brewing philosophy. So you would feel different atmosphere in each brewery. Some are more open, some are you could feel that they're like feeling a bit uncomfortable with the camera. But I remember I had one experience which was something that I still remember. I mean, I wanted to shoot a brewery that usually doesn't let people just enter their brewery, and the person who agreed to let me in told me, so I spent like two days there, and they were super. I was surprised that, because I knew that this brewery is not so keen of having someone there, but on the other hand, when I was there, they were very open. Like I felt that I'm just like a fly on the wall. Like they were really themselves, even in the koji room. I mean, like they were with no shirts, doing their thing, and even they played some music there. And anyway, after 2 days taking photos there, the person who's in charge, the Toji-san, told me, you know that what let you in my brewery is that when you contacted us and you told us that you want to take photos of our brewery, I checked you on the like online, and then I saw that you have like a sumo series that you took a few years ago. That was your entrance, like that is why you entered like the brewery, because I love sumo. And so I mean that was something that I felt that, as I said, like I think the approach also they are like kind of like testing your approach to their to sake, because I think now when the all the growing curiosity, or there is like you feel that there's more and more how can I say, like sake is becoming more and more popular, or yeah, spread. I don't know exactly. Um, and I forgot to mention that sometimes I take people on tours to breweries, and it's still very hard to coordinate this. As we just said, that they're not letting anyone just enter their brewery. But I do feel that if they feel that that you're very engaged, and that there's something that your connection with what they do is something that they can appreciate. So you can feel very welcome, even to places which are not typically, would open their doors for you. This is my own experience. I don't know how about Anna's experience. And also, I'm curious to hear about the distilleries, actually.
Like Anat said, every place and every toji or every person has their own personality, what they're comfortable with, what they're not comfortable with. But I think there is a through line where there's a lot of pride in the work that they do. So for more outgoing people who are used to taking photos, maybe they've done it 100 times, they'll automatically, start working with you for the camera. For people who are maybe a little bit more reserved, photography is maybe not like something that they're used to in their daily lives. It does help being in an environment where they are comfortable, and maybe having them speak about what makes their Nihonshu different, what they're particularly proud about. And I think when you speak to someone about something that they love and are interested in, people open up, and that's a really nice way to also expand your world and learn from each other. In terms of distilleries, I think the photos that I actually am most, they're kind of like my favorites that I'm putting out in this exhibition are of a distillery, Ikinoshima in Kyushu. So it's shochu, not nihonshu, but it's interesting because when you're distilling, I mean, there's similarities, right? There's like vats and things, but this place had a lot of light, but it was very like metallic. There were definitely different tools or like spaces that I hadn't seen as much before, but they have so much shochu, and they also have a really great tasting room. So they have their kojo, I guess, like their brewery and their warehouse, and then they also have this beautiful renovated tasting room that's all white, and they have maybe at least 20 different bottles of different shochu that you can taste. Yeah, amazing. They also, like, this place is super cool because they do a lot of research, just experimenting. So there's a shelf of just glass, kind of like mason jars with different food items in it, and they're macerating. Like, one of the items was uni, so they're macerating uni and shochu to see kind of what effects and like how it'll taste. So that kind of playful spirit, I think, is really exciting. I think with Nihonshu and Shochu, there's kind of a spectrum of thinking where maybe on one end people want to keep it very traditional, the tradition has lasted nearly unchanged for so long, but then there's on the other end of the spectrum, how do we continue the tradition, but also in this day and age, it is a hard business. So, how do we share it with the world? How can we have Nihonshu and Shochu adapt to people's daily lives today? And what I really like about JSS is they really promote a variety of different ways of thinking, but also a lot of innovation as well. So one of the events that I've gone to at JSS is like a shochu cocktail kind of information session, and it's really cool seeing. Yeah. Oh.
Because as I said, I've never shoot inside like a shochu distillery, and I was wondering, like, as you know, because Anna was shooting in both, like, you know, the secret room that sometimes they won't let you in, which is the koji muro, like the koji. So I was wondering if in the shochu distillery you have also like a place which is a bit more difficult to enter, or you know, like secluded from the, or because of the process is different, it's a distilled alcohol. Would you feel that the distilleries are more openly like inviting, you know, it's more accessible? That is my question.
In this instance, it was like already kind of agreed upon for a tour, so I didn't really get any. Like, I suppose if they didn't want to show me something, they could have just not shown me, but it was very friendly. Honestly, I mean, they were very open. Like, a lot of my photographs of this brewery is like boots and gloves hanging up and just like the tools of the trade as is. So I would say, like, I didn't specifically seek out maybe like a super private spot. They also weren't necessarily trying to guide me away from anywhere. They pretty much let me roam, kind of within the, yeah. And I tend to get maybe stuck in one spot because there's just something that really interests me, and it's maybe just like a flicker of light in a corner or whatever. But yeah, they just let me. So, yeah.
No, it's great. And can you share, if you can, how the brewers or distillers react to your photos, or even like your friends or family who see your photographs? How do they react?
So this is, I think, what I mentioned before. I think that once you show people the behind the scenes of the making of the sake, people are really, it just make them more fascinated and more intrigued. So I think that most of the breweries that I was in contact with and allowed me to enter, then of course before I send them some of my photos for them just to, you know, to see what is my photography style. And I think they come to, most of them, to appreciate it, because they do want people to understand or to get a deeper understanding or notion about this magnificent craftsmanship of sake, which is, you know, as we said, like it's over 2,000 years old. And even here in Japan, not many people, you know, ever entered a brewery. So how can I say? I think that we are, what we do, like the fact that we're taking photos there and maybe show it to others, and you know, now we are having this exhibition, and hopefully we will continue, you know, to have exhibitions which are related to this, not only in Japan. It's just something which supports and makes the craftsmanship of sake to be more accessible for others who cannot enter sake breweries. I send them the photos, and they usually, yeah, they it feels that they're really happy about it. And that is why there's a few breweries that I came to that I was shooting not one time, like I came like the next season, they let me in already with no problem. And there are a few breweries that there's one brewery in Ibaraki that I've been shooting for 5 years, and they also, they invited me not only to the they like I was invited to the ceremony. I forgot now the name, but they start when the brewing season starts. They ask for a local Shinto priest to come, and I forgot the name of the ceremony. So they also invited me to this ceremony, and then I spent the evening with them with dinner and a special dinner and drink. So I think, as I said, that there's also appreciation from the brewer side. I feel that they're happy about me documenting their work and the making of sake.
I've photographed sake breweries in two different contexts. So one would be with my previous job at Tokyo Weekender, which is more promotional based. So maybe we'll have a client that's like a prefectural government or a city, and they want to showcase their city, and one part of that is the brewery. In that case, what I'm photographing is more maybe something explanatory, so that when people are looking at the magazine, because there's limited space on the page, and usually it's multiple places, not just the brewery, being featured, then the photograph, like I tend to photograph more like this is the brewery, so when people are reading the article, they can know where it is, what it is. Whereas when I'm photographing for myself, it is very much image oriented. So again, shapes, colors, lines, light. So I think a lot of the general reaction that I get when I'm shooting through my vision is, again, like, oh, I never would have thought to photograph that, which I'll take it as a compliment, but can also be like, oh yeah, why did you take a photo of this crate? Yeah, yeah, because for them it might just be like, right, yeah, yeah. Like if someone were to come to my house and to take photos of something I didn't put away, I would probably be like, ooh, thanks. But for me, it's really interesting, and hopefully, because these are the spaces that they're spending every day, that the photography helps see their everyday and also a new light. And I think like the photography that Anat does and like Cindy does is very documentary, and it's really beautiful, and like captures the action of it, captures the scene, the story. I think we're all just living our daily lives, but to have it recorded, photographed, and printed, it really does allow you to like reflect on what you're doing.
I'm so excited to see your works now. um, if you could pick one photo, can you tell me which one and why? Because I would love to add it to our show notes so our audience can enjoy them as well.
I would choose this one, which I called Cloud, because for me this photo is the kind of like the essence, or in a nutshell, what I feel when I enter breweries. As I said, it's the light and the steam and the air, and this the magic that happens inside sake breweries. So I would pick this photo. Yeah. And of course, I mean, if someone just sees this photo, he or she, they cannot tell it was taken in a sake brewery, of course. But in a way, I like it, that it's just an abstract, and it's just, as I said, an intuitive photo that for me represents what I feel when I enter sake breweries.
Thank you, Anna. That's a very beautiful photography. It almost feels it. It looks like there's a spirit.
Exactly, spirit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And Anna.
The photograph that I am most drawn to out of the ones I'm exhibiting today is from Ikinokura Brewery. That's the shochu one on Ikinoshima. It's to describe the photo, there's an overturned crate in the foreground, some work boots to the side, a folding chair that someone might take a small rest on, and then rubber gloves that are hanging to dry, and then off to the right side there's some hanging work coats. And one of the things that I love the photo is just the light. The windows, they're off to the edge. They're not really a big part of the photo, but the light that's coming in really affects it. And the light is so clean and soft, but it's just a vignette, and I feel like that's a through line in a lot of my work. There's kind of a stillness to my work. It's not really about story, it's not the past, it's not the future, it's just this one moment. But I just love that that's how it was, that's how the space was, and there's in this one frame I feel like there's a lot of depth even for middle and background. But yeah, it's just a vignette of someone's life through objects. Yeah. Also the colors were great. Yeah, love the red.
Yeah, the red. That's what I when I saw the first time I saw this photo, I was attracted. My eye was going to the red, and then I saw the yeah. Talking about Anna's photo, when I saw it, I was just like, oh, the red is so yeah. There is the coloring of this photo is really beautiful. You see so much color here, and yeah, it's really interesting. And then yeah, you kind of like um the first thing you see is the red, but then you see the yellow and the green and the blue, and I mean, how colorful like this environment can be.
I think I sense a spirit in your photography, Anat, and what I sense in Anna's photography is life. So they're both very different styles, but both very beautiful and really encapsulates the the space, what happens inside, and what it means to all of us. Thank you so much, Anat and Anna. As I already mentioned, I also talked to a few people during the exhibition, so let's hear what they thought about their photographs. Okay, yeah, tell me about your impression.
My impression is they look almost like divine in the photos. Yeah. The spirits of sake. I saw a lot of sake making photos and videos, but these I feel something spiritual.
I see.
Not just like regular operational sake making photos or videos.
Do you have a favorite one out of all these photos?
It's too hard to decide which one. It's collectively, it's just fantastic.
Thank you so much. Can you tell us your name?
Call me Joe. I'm from Taiwan originally.
And you work at a liquor store.
Yes,
Great. And you also drink sake or
yes. I drink sake every day.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Can you tell us your name and your impression of these photos, what you liked about them?
My name is Saskia, and I was very impressed to see the wonderful photography today. Especially, it really captures the soul of the brewer, the Toji-san, I think. I've never had so much experience going to a sake brewery before, and I do understand that in a lot of cases it's very private. Oftentimes you're not allowed into the brewing room because you might be carrying some microbes or some enzymes that might interfere with the sake making. So it does seem almost sacred that we're allowed to have this inside look into the life of a toji. And the photography really captures that. It's very mystical, kind of the steam that's rising up from the rice. It really brings you into the picture.
So it is same as her. So I was impressed about the background of the Japanese sake. When we drink Japanese sake, we cannot imagine how to make and how was the background of the Toji-san. However, thanks for this opportunity. The photographer told us that they told us about all of the things about the background of Japanese sake. I thought we have to visit and we have to respect Toji-san.
Great. Thank you. Thank you for agreeing to take this interview. Can you briefly introduce yourself and share your impression of these photographs?
My name is Christina, and I'm a friend of Anna's. And I was looking mostly at her exhibition, and I find it really. I've been to a lot of breweries, and I do a lot of production based in the breweries as well. And the way that she presented the visuals is quite new for me. I think that a lot of photographers that I've worked with find it kind of challenging to shoot inside of buildings when there's nobody there or like doing anything. But the way that she shot it, it has a lot of personality. It creates a sense of curiosity. So it's really refreshing to see it like that.
May I ask what you do?
I do production management for Tokyo Weekender for the magazine. Yeah.
So you go to breweries as a part of your work.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you.
Hey, I'm Kim. I'm a freelance writer, an editor, translator, friend of Anna's. It's really nice to be able to come into like a shop that sells Nihonshu and then actually kind of relate back to the making process through the pictures that are here. I think it's really nice the way that they're kind of exhibited and like curated kind of within the bottles. You can see like, oh, this is the factory where it was made through the pictures in the exhibition. So I really like it that it kind of lends a story to each bottle.
Yeah, I didn't realize that's how it's displayed. But great point. True.
My name is Lysandra. I work for buyfood.com. So we work with a lot of different people in like the food industry in Japan, and I would say like I'm also a friend of Anna's. I mean, her photos for me, they're very, very different what you usually see from sake breweries. You always think of the wooden barrels. You always think of the low light, the people like mixing, the koji and everything together. But her photos are kind of more showing the industrial side, I guess, more like you have to ship it out, the sake outside, you have to send it places. So it's kind of nice to see that other facet. And yeah.
Great. Thank you so much. So what did you think about, can you tell me what you thought about these photographs?
Oh yes. So also that I have the hobby to take picture of such a brewery. Therefore, I'm a little surprised that such a holy person is that have been taking pictures. That's a bit great because sake brewery very deep cultures. Therefore, that's also in Japanese. It's difficult to understand what is such a architecture and some the technical. That's also if so. Therefore, that's I'm trying to take picture after understanding that brewery.
Do you also take pictures of sake breweries?
Yes, yes, yes.
So what are the differences between your photographs of sake breweries and their photographs of breweries?
Also, that's so my picture is some the technical and so how to say that how to make a sake to my friends. But your picture is so beautiful. So the emotional the picture. Therefore, I see that you take picture. You are seeing the figures. So you very lost the skins. That's so they I guess that she is maybe that 30 years, 40 years experience is that Utoji. Yeah. So that is very good. Emotional, because I call the emotional pictures. Yeah.
That's great. Thank you so much. Can we get your name?
Watanabe, very typical name. So strongest name of that in Japan. Watanabe.
Thank you, Watanabe-san.
Yeah,
And that's it for this episode of Sake on Air. Please take a moment to review and rate us on Apple Podcasts or wherever you're enjoying the show. Feel free to send your questions and comments to questions@sakeonair.com or at sakeonair on Instagram and Facebook. You can also find our shows and more on our YouTube channel. We'll be back with more Sake on Air in just 2 weeks. Until then, kampai!
This episode has been made possible with the generous support of the Japan Sake and Shochu Makers Association and was recorded at the Japan Sake and Shochu Information Center in the heart of Tokyo. Sake on Air was created by Potsuke Productions and is produced by Export Japan.